It's another week here on Generally Speaking. And one thing that we get to talk about this week, we get to talk about a W for Lafayette football. You look at what happened just a couple days ago, Lafayette took care of business against Dunbar 50-14. We're going to talk about that with Coach Shaw, a couple of players, and we'll even look at a blast from the past. And here's a little hint. He played quarterback back in the early 80s. Who is it? There's only one way to find out. You're watching, Generally Speaking, right here. And a big thank you goes out to SDG Blue and Mingy Beef Jerky for sponsoring the show. Up next, Coach Eric Shaw, right here on Generally Speaking.
Welcome to Lafayette Football, brought to you by Mingy Beef Jerky, SDG Blue, Dave Redden Photography, and Fayette County Schoolsports.com.
Your watch, Generally Speaking, as every week we are joined by head coach Eric Shaw. Coach, thank you for sitting down once again, and congratulations, first win of the season.
Thank you, sir.
And let's talk about that. You go into the very first game of the year, you're going against a fellow city school in Dunbar. A lot of things going on. What was the mindset going into the game?
Just to go out and set the tone for the rest of the year. Go out and play fast and play hard and try to limit mistakes. Just trying to get the rust off. Playing against someone the first opponent of the season. There's some things that usually happens, and there's some rust things that we need to work on.
So you look at the game film, we're a couple days past the game, you've seen things live, you've seen things on the film. What did you catch when it comes to addressing those issues?
Well, just that timing. Timing was an issue. For us defensively, finding that right fit and getting those live reps to be able to hone in and get better at it.
You talk about your defense. Start of the game, 7 minutes left to go in the second quarter, you're tied at 14. Then your offense goes on a 36-point unanswered run. Yeah, that looks good for the offense, but I also saw about your defense and that they're able to hold Dunbar. What was the key to your defense having such a strong presence as they got more in the game?
Just being physical, knowing what to do, and communicating, being aggressive and attacking the football. Defense is really simple. It's about finding the football and tackling it. And we did a pretty good job at that. There's some mistakes there still that we need to work on and address, and we'll do that and get ready for next week.
Sticking with the defense, was there anybody that stuck out to you with this week's performance?
Brandon Lane, Tadrian McCoy, all of them did a really good job. Jordan Thomas, they all did a great job, and watching film and watching them fly to the football was very impressive.
You and I know each other for quite a few years.
Right.
You're always harping on being physical. Your defense having that mentality of not backing down, being able to fight in the trenches. So when you have that mindset, does this defense this year have what it takes to do that game in and game out?
I think so. We're a lot older. Last year we had a bunch of sophomores in there. Ian Shaw, my youngest son, led the team in tackles as a sophomore. So now we're senior, junior heavy, and they understand it a lot better now. They've had those reps in those big games now, where they can transfer that experience into what needs to happen week in and week out.
Now we go to the offensive side of football. Like I said, 36 unanswered points, tied at 14 in the game, 50-14. What are your thoughts with the offense?
They finally settled down. That's a very powerful offense that we have here. Quarterback that believes in Walker Wood is still finding his rhythm. He coming off surgery this summer, and just trying to find that rhythm, and they settled down and get there.
Walker, great numbers, 3 touchdowns, over 280 yards passing, 70 yards rushing. he is such a dual threat. When he's at this point in his career, he's been through so many things. What are you telling him? What's the offensive coordinator telling him when it comes to practice, comes to games, so that he stays on the straight and narrow?
Just have fun and enjoy it. Don't put that unnecessary pressure on yourself. Just go out and do what you've been blessed to do and have fun doing it.
There was one thing that I caught from the game, and I saw it during the game, and I saw it after the game when I'm looking at tweets from everybody else, was people talking about Jedrick Wills blowing people up on the line. I love seeing that. I know you do too.
Jedrick is a very special human being. He plays the game hard. I love watching him play because he's so physical. And he wants to be really good at it. And to watch that effort on the field is unbelievable.
We know about Jedrick. We know what he can do, and he has a decision that he'll make in the coming weeks or the next few months. You look at the rest of the offensive line. Jedrick draws all the headlines, but who are the other guys in the offensive line that are making a big difference?
Our center, Will Bischoff, very smart kid. He plays hard also. Alex Simpson is the other tackle on the other side, very large individual. Dejon Thomas plays guard. Austin Miller, which is one of the smallest linemen that we have, but he plays like he's 6'5". Those guys have done a great job of coming together and working together to make sure we move the ball.
You mentioned the size. Now, Lafayette over the last few years has had those offensive linemen that other high schools dream about when it comes to that size. Is that the strongest point of this offense, is having an offensive line that knows how to pass protect, knows how to run block?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And that size is very helpful.
But they can move. And to watch Jedrick and Alex, those guys pull and move and run is very impressive. I get excited about watching them play.
Look at the running game. Walker takes a good percentage of the running game, but you have other running backs that are getting the ball, that are making a lot of differences. Who is really sticking out on the tailback running back side of things?
By far right now, DeRoy Robinson. We call him Ballhead.
Why is that?
That's a nickname that he came here with.
Okay.
And that's what he's comfortable with, and that's what we call him. But he's a short and stature guy, and he runs hard, and he wants to win. And he wants to compete. He can run it inside, he can run it out. Very polite kid, but he works hard. He's that underdog that you would see, and he fits in really well.
I'll bring out one thing from the game against Dunbar that we won't sit on very long. Just a quick question. There was an incident that happened, a couple players were ejected. Not looking at that incident, but looking ahead. When it comes to an issue like that, do players just get suspended for the next game, or what's the protocol?
It can be up to 2 games they can be suspended, they can miss. I won't know until tomorrow what that would be. But as of right now, they're suspended.
So we look ahead to next week. Another tough matchup. What are your thoughts going into your next game?
Just to get better, just improve from week to week. You know, it's not about, no disrespect to anyone, but it's not about the team that we play. This is a battle that we have within, and we want to limit mistakes and be as efficient as we possibly be on both sides of the ball, including special teams. So it's not about who we play, it's about how we play, and that's the focus.
I was going to make that my last question, but when you said special teams, got to ask that question. A lot of teams in high school football struggle punting, field goals, kickoffs. Lafayette, and this is something that you've carried with you. You take risks with special teams. You love that part of football. When you look at what you have this year, special teams, what do they bring to the table?
We're a lot better than what we were last year at special teams.
That's saying a lot.
And that is saying a lot. We have a young kicker that kicks really well. And our special teams are loaded with junior and seniors. And that's so important because they've had that experience, they know what to do. So I'm really excited about that phase of the game.
He's Coach Eric Shaw. He's your coach. He's our coach. And he joins us once again this week on Generally Speaking. Here in a few moments, we'll be joined by a couple of seniors, and we'll take a look at a blast from the past right here on Generally Speaking.
You're watching Generally Speaking, brought to you by Mingy Beef Jerky, SDG Blue, Dave Redden Photography, and Fayette County Schoolsports.com.
You've heard from Coach Shaw. Now we go to the players, most notably the senior class. And one of the seniors that's caught a lot of headlines over the last couple of years is this guy, wide receiver Quentin Brown.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Quentin, it's good to talk to you. You've seen a lot of cool things the last couple of years. When you put on this helmet, you put on that jersey. What's it like being a Lafayette General nowadays?
I love it. I love having the friend and the family that Coach Bond I have with my friends, so it's been a great experience.
Now, let's talk some X's and O's just for a quick moment. After the first game, you get a lot of things taken care of. You start realizing the speed of the game after not having played a few months. When you go out there and you're kind of experiencing everything from your position, what has been the difficult part, getting used to game speed, or what has not been difficult? It's a loaded question.
It is difficult as in you can practice as much as you want, but it's always different when you get into a game. There's always, like you said, that game speed and always that turnover. So it's just keeping up with the game and keeping in rhythm.
Now, your position on the field, being a wide receiver, this offense clicks. It's been clicking for the last couple of years, and two of the most stable things have been you and Walker Wood. You're on the field at the exact same time. What's the connection between you and Walker when you guys are on the field?
It's great. I love playing with Walker. He's a great guy. He's a great quarterback. So it's always good playing with him. Also, it's very great connection with the rest of the receivers and the rest of the offense. That's why I think we click so well, because everyone else is also connected.
So is the Lafayette offense kind of a very close-knit group, and that's why you guys play so well together?
Yes, sir. We're best friends, whether it's in school or in football or outside of school or hanging out. We're always together.
Now, you look at your position in the offensive side of football. You're a starting wide receiver, but what we saw in the scrimmage against Male was you took a few snaps at quarterback. So when you're out in the field, do you know that playbook so well because you're a wide receiver and you're a quarterback that everything comes a little easier to you?
It does help. I always just want to do what's always best for the offense. Wherever the coaches ask me to do, I'm willing to do it.
So being the backup quarterback, you see a player like Walker Wood. Me personally, I saw Walker as wide receiver in his younger days. So knowing that there's a QB behind him and also on the field makes me think trick plays.
You never know what our coaches have up their sleeve, but like I said, I'm always willing to do whatever the coaches want us to do, and I just want to help our team execute.
So in other words, hey, Tate's Creek, look out. Now you look at yourself as a student athlete here at Lafayette. When you take away the athlete part, and you're just a student, what do you enjoy most about being in high school and going through your daily life?
A lot of freedom. High school is a lot different than being in middle school, and also being so close with my friends. My best friends I've met in high school, and I met being at Lafayette.
So when the season is over, what do you plan to do? Like, are you thinking about college? Are you thinking about joining the workforce? About playing? When everything wraps up in December, when a state title is back in Lexington, what's going through your mind?
It's always been my dream to play college ball, but when football is over, being a senior, it's time to focus on academics.
What is something in academics that has drawn your interest?
I like social studies a lot. I like learning about the history, and I like learning about the past.
Is there anything particular about the history that's always caught your attention? Some people say World War II, other people say the Roosevelt years. What?
I've always been a big fan of whether it's war movies or my grandfather was in the war, so I always like learning about different wars and things like that.
Okay. When you look at yourself in 20 years, what do you see yourself doing?
I like to stay close to home. A lot of my family's from Kentucky, so I'd like to be 20 years with the family and keeping in close contact with my friends, hopefully, that I have now.
As wide receiver, senior, Quentin Brown. Quentin, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Up next, we'll be joined by another guest. In order to find out who that is, you gotta keep it right here on Generally Speaking.
You're watching Generally Speaking, brought to you by Mingy Beef Jerky, SDG Blue, Dave Redden Photography, and Fayette County Schoolsports.com.
You've heard from Coach. You've heard from start wide receiver Quentin Brown. Now we're being joined by somebody on the defensive side of football and a very important person on special teams, Bryson Hallett. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Bryson, first game, out of the way. You get that first W of the season. How you guys feeling?
We're good. We got the first game jitters out, and we're figuring out our defense and who can do the job and who's really wanting to play. We also just learned how to work together better than in practice, because in practice we focus, but we play at the same time. But in the game, it's all serious. There's no jokes, nothing. It's get that W.
Now, there are some that kind of waver on this, that when the winning comes too important, the fun comes out of it. Is that the case for here?
No, not at all. Lafayette's always been a fun football program, always. Unless you're running sprints because Coach Shaw's mad. That's only when he's mad.
You mentioned Coach Shaw. Coach Shaw has been scouting defense and drawing X's and O's for defense for 20-some-odd years and had a great college career, professional career. When you're on the defensive side of football and you know what he brings to the table, what does that do to you to get ready?
It pushes me because it's just he's a role model to all the defensive players. You want to be like him because he knows what to do and what to expect from every other team. And if you don't listen to him, you're going to do something wrong and it might cost the game. But if you listen to him, then you have really high chances of making the play.
So defensively, you're right there. But another role that you're playing is you are on special teams. So you're playing two different roles, wearing two different helmets sometimes. When you're playing on special teams, a lot of high schools may not focus that much on it, but Lafayette does. What goes through the getting ready for special teams?
It's just you have to have a lot of stamina and you have to like to hit people. Love doing that. You have to pay attention because if you mess up, then you're definitely going to cost something. There's one missed block on a punt return or anything like kickoff returns. That could be a tackle at the 20-yard line. It's the same as a touchback. We don't want that. We want to get past the 50 or touchdown every time. So it's a key point to every game. Colleges look at special teams as much as they do offense and defense. Because they need people like that on their team.
So you look at that and you're wearing all these different hats, you're doing all these different things on the football field, and you mentioned you don't like to make Coach mad because then you got to run sprints.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're doing so many different things, what is your favorite thing about playing football for Lafayette?
The players, definitely the players, because all of them are just full of happiness and joy when they're out there, and they all like to hit, so we're all out there cracking each other's heads, and you just say good job after everything too. It's not like, oh, I hit you, you're down, you messed up or something. You don't get down on them, you help them out. It's always like, you don't try and bring them down, you try and pick them up. It's just how Lafayette's always been about everything.
I hear that basically camaraderie is such a huge thing for this program. Is that stressed just by the coaches, is that stressed by the players, or is it just natural?
It's stressed by the coaches, but it's also natural at the same time because a lot of the people here know what it's like to be brought down. So they just try and pick up everybody they can as much as they can.
One topic we always like to hit on with current players is for them to look in the future and see themselves. When your time at Lafayette's done and you see yourself down the road, you're coming back for a 20-year reunion, what is Bryson Hallett going to be doing?
Hopefully in the Special Forces and as an Army Ranger, because it's just always been a dream of mine to join the Army and do that. But also I'd like to go to college to be a vet, so I could go do both and get one for free.
So the plan as of right now, when your college career is up, when your playing career at high school is over, if you get a chance to play college ball, you'll take it.
I'm going to take it.
But if that doesn't work out, then you're going to go to the Special Forces and maybe go back to school.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned possibly being a vet. Why did that catch your interest?
I've always liked animals, and it's just, I like dogs and cats too, so if I could help them like I help people, that'd be great.
I'll go ahead and get this out of the way now. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Hallett. Big thank you to Bryson Hallett for joining us here on Generally Speaking this week. We come back, we're going to be joined by a blast from the past. Who is it? Only one way to find out. This is Generally Speaking.
You're watching Generally Speaking, brought to you by Mingy Beef Jerky, SDG Blue, Dave Redden Photography, and Fayette County Schoolsports.com.
After you get a few shows under your belt, you kind of start realizing what the fans are watching and what they really look forward to. And everything about Generally Speaking has everybody's interest. But one thing that we've caught on to is we look at a blast from the past. We welcome a former player on the show. And this week, we're being joined by John Haywood. John, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Eric.
Now, I'm going to ask you the same question I'm going to ask each and every week. When did you play here? What position did you play? What do you remember the most?
I played in 1982, 83, and 84. Played quarterback. Started the years of the 82 and 83 season. Fondest memories, a couple of games in particular, but most importantly the friendships that I made over the years that I still continue on 30 years later.
Now, it is 30 years later.
Yes, it is.
But with that being said, when you and I, before we went on camera, we were just kind of walking around just chit-chatting. You talk about, like, not a lot has changed here at Lafayette from when you played here in the early mid-'80s.
Not a lot has changed. It was great being back in this old locker room. I walked in, a lot of things went through my mind, and a lot of great memories. A lot of great memories.
When you look at how high school football was when you played, kind of walk me through, like, how it was to play on a Friday night in Lexington, Kentucky back in the 80s.
Back in the day, I think it's a little bit different than it is today. Don't think there was much to do on a Friday night 30 years ago as there is tonight. City games were huge, 5,000, 6,000 fans. Place was always packed. Game week was a huge week starting from Monday all the way through. Still remember those. I can remember specific plays. And all my opponents and all my teammates too. So it's great times, great times.
You look at what you accomplished back then, how good Lafayette football was in the 80s and how good it is now, and for what this school and division it holds. You being an alumni, do you hold that like really near and dear to you to go, I had success, it's great to see this team, this program back to where it was?
It sure is. I love it. I wake up every Saturday morning. First thing I find out is what did Lafayette do.
I love that.
We do, and I was actually upset a little bit with the Herald Leader because they didn't have the stats in the paper Saturday because of the deal and shifted it to Louisville or whatever. But for example, last year when they were in the championship game, we had 25, 30 old football players at a local pub watching the game on the pay-per-view channel and cheered like crazy for them. So yes, we follow Lafayette, and it's really good to see them in the position they are now to maybe win this thing this year.
How often do you come back for games?
I haven't, not as much as I'd like to. I've been to several games, but certainly not as much as I'd like to. Definitely going to be here for the Trinity game in a couple of weeks, and looking forward to seeing that for sure.
You and I, we were off camera, we were just kind of chit-chatting. The locker room hasn't changed, but the field has.
Yes.
The field has gone through a lot of changes from when you played here. What are the changes?
Basically, the surface itself is unbelievable. When we played here, it was similar to a hill. Natural grass that wasn't always grass. This field and this facility is fantastic. I drove by and looked at it today before I came here, and I was blown away by it. First class.
How much do you wish you played artificial turf?
I really wish I played there. That would have been a great thing to have back then. But once again, it was a long time ago.
Now, today, 3 years later, your football career is in the past. You're a proud alumni. What are you doing nowadays?
Still live in Lexington. I'm the owner of Kaywood Publications, which is a sports publications company. I'm also a partner in RMJ Property Management, which is a rental property venture that I had with a friend of mine who actually I went to school with, and coaching 8-year-old football. So that's
8-year-old football.
8-year-old football. I got an 8-year-old son, and we do it all: baseball, football, and basketball. So we're right in the middle of our preseason right now as well.
Well, John, it's great to sit here and catch up with you. I enjoy talking to all the former players that play for this great program. And even before, if I get the jersey real quick, I want to show your jersey on camera for when you play. This is pretty cool. as you look at the jerseys of now, the Generals and Adidas, this was what John wore back when he played. And if I remember right, you were telling me that were you a freshman or a senior when you got these jerseys?
I was a senior when we got those jerseys, and that was a brand new off-the-press jersey.
And you still have it.
Still have it.
That's pretty cool.
Still have it.
So you look at the past, you look at the present, Lafayette back in the 80s, Lafayette now in a great position. Our guest this week, looking at the past of Lafayette General football, John Kaywood. John, it's been a pleasure, buddy.
Me too. Thanks for having me here. Thanks for Lafayette family for inviting me back. I really appreciate it.
Back in just a few moments to wrap up today's episode of Generally Speaking.
You're watching Generally Speaking, brought to you by Mingy Beef Jerky, SDG Blue, Dave Redden Photography, and Fayette County Schoolsports.com.
We take a look at our local scoreboard for August 19th and 20th. Lafayette against Dunbar, the victory, 50-14 at Scott County. And just before that game kicked off, Scott County took care of Tates Creek, 47-20. Bryan Station with a touchdown victory over Wayne County, 35-28. Madison Central and Knox Central in a defensive struggle, 8-7 goes to Madison Central. Madison Southern 21-14 against Lincoln County, big win for the Eagles. Lexington Catholic over Boone County 41-18. Lexington Christian a 10-point victory over Williamsburg 32-22. And rounding it out, our weekend scores, North Bullitt with a victory over Woodford County 20-0. A big thank you to our guests this week on Generally Speaking, Coach Eric Shaw, wide receiver Quentin Brown, special team extraordinaire Bryson Hallett, and our good friend from a blast in the past, he played football here at Lafayette in the early to mid-'80s, John Kaywood. And we thank you for watching this week on Generally Speaking. Next week, we'll be recapping what happened when Lafayette takes on Boyle County on the road. Right now, the Generals 1-0. Next week, we hope to see them 2-0. Thank you for watching, and a big thank you to SDG Blue and Mingy Beef Jerky for being sponsors of Generally Speaking. Until next week, I'm Eric Matthews.
Thanks for watching Generally Speaking, brought to you by Mingy Beef Jerky, SDG Blue, Dave Redden Photography, and Fayette County Schoolsports.com.